Okay, so today we're going to be like diving into the world of NFTs. It seems like everyone and their grandma has heard of NFTs, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
beyond, those Bored Ape profile pictures and like the headlines about people spending millions of dollars on JPEGs, what are they really all about?
Yeah, it's really easy to get caught up in all that hype, but NFTs are more than just digital art.
Right.
Think of it like the early days of the internet. People saw like, okay, this could be cool. Like they saw its potential, but nobody could have predicted just how much it would transform our lives, really.
Yeah.
NFTs are still in their infancy, but they have the potential to be just as revolutionary.
Yeah, for sure. To kind of guide us through this deep dive, we're using Michael Litman's book, Getting Started with Web3 and NFTs.
Oh, good book.
And I think he does a really good job like cutting through all the noise and just showing us like the practical ways that NFTs are already being used that I don't think a lot of people really realize.
Yeah, and he uses a ton of real-world examples to illustrate their impact, like across industries, going way beyond just the digital art.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay, so if NFTs aren't just about like, digital monkeys, where did this whole thing even start?
Yeah, you might be surprised to learn that the very first NFT was minted way back in 2014
Wow.
by an artist named Kevin McCoy, and it was called Quantum.
2014, that's like a million years ago in internet time.
I know, right? A very long time ago.
Yeah.
Especially considering how quickly things move now.
Right.
And here's the kicker, it sold for $4.
$4.
I know, $4.
That's less than my morning coffee.
Exactly. It just goes to show how early we are in this space. I mean, in just 10 years, NFTs have gone from this like niche experiment
Right.
to a multi-billion-dollar industry. So imagine where they'll be in another 10.
Yeah, that's wild. So it sounds like NFTs are evolving at lightning speed.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's talk about some of those like unexpected uses because when I was reading through Litman's book, he outlines 15 different applications for NFTs.
Right.
And some of them really blew my mind, like using NFTs for loyalty programs.
Yeah, it's actually a brilliant strategy,
Yeah.
because if you think about traditional loyalty programs, they often feel very transactional. Like
Yeah.
you collect your points, you get your discount, rinse and repeat.
Right.
But with NFTs, they add this layer of engagement and exclusivity
Right.
that can foster like a much deeper sense of customer loyalty.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's like instead of just like being handed a free coffee after your 10th purchase or whatever,
Exactly.
you're earning an asset, like you're earning something.
Yeah, like you're part of a club.
Yeah.
It's special.
And like that, reflects your status. It could unlock like unique experiences. It's not just this like one-for-one trade-off.
Exactly. Starbucks is already doing this with their Odyssey program.
Right. I've heard of that.
Yeah. Yeah, where members can collect and even trade Starbucks-themed NFTs.
Wow.
So it's a win-win,
Yeah.
Customers get rewarded for their loyalty in a fun and engaging way, and then Starbucks gets to cultivate a more dedicated customer base.
Yeah, that's a great point because it's like I'm way more likely to like stay engaged with a company or a brand if I feel like I'm a part of something.
Absolutely.
It's not just transactional. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the difference between like collecting scamps in a book
Right.
versus building a collection of like rare and valuable trading cards.
Yes. That's such a good analogy because it's like,
Yeah.
One is just like, okay, I'm just trying to fill this up to get my free whatever at the end.
Right.
But the other one is like, oh, these are cool. I want to collect these. These are valuable.
Right. Exactly.
So it completely changes your relationship to it.
Absolutely. And it's not just about coffee either.
Right.
Imagine getting an NFT from like your favorite clothing brand that unlocks like early access to a new collection or exclusive discounts or even tickets to like a fashion show.
Yeah, that's way cooler than a punch card.
Right.
I mean, like, if I got an NFT from like, a brand that I really liked, that would make me way more likely to like shop there and be invested in like what they were doing.
Exactly. And that's just like scratching the surface. Litman also talks about how brands are using NFTs to authenticate luxury goods, which is becoming like a huge thing in a world of counterfeits.
Yeah, because you always hear those horror stories about people spending thousands of dollars on like, a designer handbag or a watch, and then they find out that it's fake.
Exactly.
And I mean, what do you even do at that point?
Exactly. It's a huge problem. But NFTs offer a really elegant solution.
Yeah.
Imagine buying a luxury watch, right?
Okay.
And it comes with an NFT that's linked to its unique serial number and ownership history. No more worrying about authenticity.
So it's like having a digital certificate of authenticity that's stored securely on the blockchain. And it's like impossible to forge or duplicate.
Exactly. Impossible.
That's amazing.
It is. And it goes beyond just proving authenticity, too. Because NFTs are traceable on the blockchain, they can provide a record of the item's entire journey.
Wow.
From the factory to the store to the hands of the consumer.
So it's like having this like digital passport that tells the story of that particular item.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
And that story, that provenance, can actually significantly enhance an item's value and desirability.
Especially for those collectors out there.
Exactly.
That's a really cool way to kind of add to that.
Absolutely.
It's interesting because Litman talks about how this idea of provenance and this digital ownership ties into this concept of NFTs as cultural capital.
Yeah.
Which sounds very like, academic and like, ooh, what does that even mean?
Right, right.
But it's actually it's a really interesting idea.
It is.
So can you break down like what exactly that means? Like what is cultural capital and how do NFTs play into that?
So Pierre Bourdieu, who was a French sociologist,
Okay.
he argued that cultural capital comes in different forms.
Okay.
It's the knowledge and taste that you embody, the valuable objects that you possess, and then like the institutional recognition that you acquire.
Okay.
Think of it as like a social currency that reflects your status and influence.
Okay.
So how does this relate to NFTs?
Yeah.
Well, owning certain NFTs, particularly rare or sought-after ones, can become like a status symbol in itself,
Right.
Much like owning a rare piece of art
Right.
or a vintage car.
Right.
It reflects your taste,
Yeah.
your knowledge of the NFT space, and even like, your wealth.
It's like the new flex.
Exactly.
Like forget the car, forget the watch. It's like, no, I have this NFT
Mhm.
that's like 1 of 10 ever made.
Exactly.
Here's my digital wallet. Look at it.
Exactly. It's like you're part of this digital elite, a club that not everyone has access to.
And it's so much easier to show off too, because it's like, with the blockchain, everyone can see what you own.
Exactly.
So it's not like, oh yeah, I have this rare car. It's like, well, prove it.
Right.
It's like, no, here's the address. Look it up. It's mine.
Exactly. And it creates this whole new dynamic in how we perceive and showcase status and belonging in the digital age.
Totally. It's like and it's not even just about like individual ownership either, right? Because like it creates communities.
Absolutely.
I feel like NFTs have fostered all these like new online communities and forms of engagement that are based on like shared cultural interests.
Exactly. Yeah. People are connecting over their love for a particular artist or a brand or even just like a meme.
Right.
It's creating a sense of belonging and a shared identity in the digital world.
Yeah, totally. And that's something that like, with the internet, obviously, it's way easier to find people that like the same obscure things that you do. But it's interesting how NFTs have kind of taken that and like, I don't know, amplified it in a way.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
absolutely.
You're part of this like, it's like NFTs are creating their own like subcultures and social hierarchies, which is fascinating.
They are, and brands are taking notice.
Yeah.
They're using NFTs to connect with consumers in entirely new ways.
Right.
Building communities around shared passions and offering exclusive experiences that go far beyond, your traditional marketing campaigns.
Totally, because it's like you give someone like a free tote bag or something.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, no big deal.
But it's like if you give them, this NFT that gives them access to like, I don't know, a Discord with the designers of the brand or something, that's way cooler.
Absolutely.
People are going to be way more excited about that.
Exactly.
And speaking of brands, I really loved how Litman highlighted some of these incredible brand activations that have happened in the NFT space that show how companies are using this technology in like such innovative ways.
Yeah, they're really cool examples.
He chose 3 that he really felt like demonstrated like the potential of NFTs to like transform brand engagement.
Right.
So let's kind of like dive into those a little bit.
Yeah.
First up, we have Oracle Red Bull Racing and their Velocity Pass. Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so the Velocity Pass was super cool.
Yeah.
Because Red Bull Racing used these NFTs to give their fans like exclusive access
Okay.
to like digital art,
Okay.
unique experiences,
Wow.
and even fractional ownership of the pass itself.
Hold on, fractional ownership. Like you mean like owning a piece of the Velocity Pass? How does that even work?
Yeah. So they use this technology called DN404,
Okay.
which allows for what are called divisible NFTs.
Okay.
So imagine like taking something valuable and
Okay.
breaking it down into smaller, more accessible pieces.
Okay.
That's kind of what DN404 does for NFTs.
So instead of having to buy the entire Velocity Pass, which I'm assuming was probably pretty pricey,
Oh,
fans could own like a portion of it.
exactly. It
own-
lowers the barrier to entry, and it allows like a wider range of fans to participate.
Right.
And then on top of that, it creates this whole new market for
Wow.
trading and collecting these like fractionalized NFTs.
So it's almost like, is it like buying shares of a company?
Yeah, kind of.
But instead of a company, it's like you're investing in a fan experience.
Exactly. And what's cool is like the more successful the Red Bull racing team is,
Right.
the more valuable those fractionalized NFTs potentially become.
Wow.
It aligns the fans and the team in this really cool, unique way.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Talk about a win-win, right?
absolutely, yeah.
Okay, what about Litman's next example?
The next one he talks about is Adidas
Okay.
venturing into the metaverse.
Okay.
They were one of the first major brands to fully embrace NFTs.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they went all in.
Right.
They offered digital and physical merch, community engagement, and just kind of gave everyone this glimpse into the future of how brands can like interact with their customers
Yeah.
in the digital world.
I remember when they first launched their NFT collection.
Yeah.
It was like huge news in the sneaker world.
Huge.
But it wasn't just about like selling digital sneakers though, right?
No, not at all. It was about creating this whole ecosystem around the brand.
Okay.
So like owners of these NFTs got access to exclusive merch,
Okay.
like limited edition sneakers,
Oh, cool.
hoodies, as well as just entry into this community of like-minded individuals.
So it was like merging the physical and digital, which makes a lot of sense because Adidas is like, they're obviously digital, but they're also very physical.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like you're wearing their stuff.
Totally.
It's not just like,
Right.
Yeah.
It exists in the real world.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was a really smart move.
Yeah.
That blurred the lines between like the real world and the metaverse.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it was a huge financial success.
Yeah, I bet.
They generated over 18 million pounds
Wow.
in sales on the first day alone.
That's amazing. Talk about a slam dunk. Okay, on to Litman's final example.
Last but not least, we have the Australian Open
Okay.
and their innovative art ball project from 2022.
Yeah, this is the one where they linked NFTs to like live match data, right?
Yes,
I
exactly.
remember seeing something about this on like Twitter or whatever.
Yeah, you probably did.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So they created this like really unique collectible that actually evolved with the tournament.
Wow. Okay.
Each art ball NFT was linked to a specific plot of grass
What?
on the tennis court.
Oh, that's cool.
So whenever a match point happened on that plot of grass,
Okay.
the NFT would update
What?
with the match data, the player information, and even like a little video clip of the point.
So the NFT was like a living, breathing piece of like sport memorabilia
Exactly.
that like changed based on what was happening at the actual tournament.
Yes.
That's so cool.
It was really cool. It was a game changer in terms of fan engagement.
Yeah, for sure.
Because all of a sudden fans had this opportunity to own a piece of the Australian Open
Right.
that was directly tied to the excitement of the tournament.
Yeah. So cool. I bet those NFTs are worth like a lot now.
Oh, I'm sure.
Especially if like a really amazing match happened or like a huge upset happened on it's like
Totally.
that piece of grass, that's amazing.
Yeah, it added this whole like unpredictable element to these collectibles.
Oh, cool.
And then on top of that, they donated a portion of the proceeds
Oh, wow.
from the art ball NFTs to charity,
That's awesome.
which added another layer of meaning to the project.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's amazing how NFTs can like create these unique connections between fans and events and even charitable causes. Like the possibilities are really kind of endless.
They really are.
But before we get like too carried away with all the like positive examples,
Yeah.
let's maybe shift gears a little bit and talk about like the importance of safety and security in the NFT space, because I feel like, that's something that's really important, obviously,
It's crucial.
especially for like newcomers who might not know, like all the ins and outs of how to
Yeah.
keep themselves safe.
Yeah, because with any new technology, right? Especially one that involves like digital assets and financial transactions, there are always going to be people who are looking to take advantage.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You hear the horror stories about people like, losing all their NFTs to scams or having their digital wallets hacked.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like the Wild West out there.
It really is.
So for our listeners, like, What are some things that they should be aware of to like protect themselves?
So I think it all starts with just understanding the different types of wallets and how they work.
Okay, yeah. Break that down for us.
Okay, so think of it this way.
Okay, so there are custodial wallets and non-custodial wallets.
Right. So a custodial wallet is kind of like having a bank account where a third party, like Coinbase, for example,
Okay.
holds your assets for you.
Okay.
It's convenient, but you're trusting them with your keys, so to speak.
So it's kind of, yeah, like similar to how a bank like holds your money in like a traditional account.
Exactly.
So,
Now, a non-custodial wallet, on the other hand, is more like holding your own cash.
okay.
You have full control over your assets,
Okay.
but you're also responsible for keeping them safe.
Right.
MetaMask is a good example of a non-custodial wallet.
Okay. So it's kind of like more secure, I guess, in
Yeah.
a way, because you're not like relying on this third party,
Right.
but it also, you know, comes with more responsibility because you're the one who has to like keep track of everything.
Exactly. And then within those categories, you have what are called hot wallets and cold wallets.
Okay.
A hot wallet is connected to the internet,
Okay.
which makes it convenient for like, doing transactions and stuff. But it also makes it more vulnerable to hacking.
Right.
Think of it like your everyday wallet that you carry around with you.
Okay.
A cold wallet, on the other hand, is stored offline,
Okay.
which makes it way more secure for long-term storage. Think of it like a safe in your house where you keep like your most valuable possessions.
Okay. So it's kind of like if you're like, buying and selling NFTs pretty frequently, maybe like a hot wallet, like MetaMask is a good option.
Right.
But if you're like, okay, I'm buying this NFT and I'm going to like hold on to it for, years as an investment,
Right.
maybe a cold wallet is a safer bet.
Exactly. You got it. It's all about finding that balance between security and convenience based on like your individual needs and risk tolerance.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
But regardless of which type of wallet you choose, there are some essential security practices that everyone should follow.
Okay. Like what?
Number one, like never share your seed phrase with anyone.
Okay.
Your seed phrase is like a master password for your wallet. If someone gets their hands on that, they can basically drain your wallet clean.
Oh, no.
Treat it like gold.
Got it.
Write it down in multiple secure locations.
Okay.
Never store it digitally, all that good stuff.
Okay. That's a little scary, but it's good to know these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then always double check the URL of any website you're interacting with.
Right.
Especially if it involves like connecting your wallet.
Right.
Because scammers are really good at what they do, and they can create these fake websites that look identical to legitimate ones to trick people into entering like their login credentials.
Right. And that's good advice for like anything online, honestly, not just NFTs.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And then finally, just like be cautious of any like unsolicited offers or opportunities that just seem too good to be true.
Right.
If someone is like, promising you guaranteed returns on your NFT investments,
Yeah.
or offering you like, free NFTs in exchange for your personal information, it's most likely a scam.
So common sense goes a long way in the NFT space, just like in the real world.
Exactly. Don't let the excitement of like this new technology, cloud your judgment.
Right. Right. Okay. So we've talked about wallets and security,
Yes.
but there's this other layer to this whole NFT thing that's like choosing your own adventure. It's like you get to pick like where you want to do it.
Exactly.
And that's like the different blockchains.
Right.
It's not like a one-size-fits-all situation, is it?
No, not at all. Think of it this way, like websites aren't limited to like, one server.
Right.
NFTs aren't limited to a single blockchain.
So,
Each blockchain has its own like, strengths and weaknesses, its
Right.
own culture,
right.
and even its own like cost of entry.
Okay, so break that down for us. What do you mean cost of entry?
So like depending on the blockchain, there might be fees associated with buying, selling, or even creating NFTs.
Oh, okay, so it's like transaction fees and stuff.
Exactly. And those fees can vary widely. So it's important to do your research.
Okay.
Figure out what blockchain aligns best with like, your budget and your goals.
So walk us through it. Like
Yeah.
what are some of the like major players in the NFT blockchain world?
Well, probably the most well-known is Ethereum.
Right. I feel like I hear about that one a lot.
Yeah, and for good reason. It's the most popular blockchain for NFTs, but it can also be like, slow and expensive to use, especially during peak time.
Okay, yeah. I've heard those gas fees on Ethereum can be brutal.
Yeah, they can be rough.
Okay.
But despite the fees, Ethereum has a massive community of like developers and creators.
Right.
which has led to just this like thriving and very diverse NFT ecosystem.
So it's kind of like the New York City of the NFT world.
Yeah, exactly.
Crowded, expensive, but like full of energy and opportunity.
I like that. That's a good analogy.
Okay, so what about like some of the other ones? I know you mentioned there are multiple.
Right. So then you have Solana,
Okay.
which is known for its speed and what we call scalability.
Okay. So transactions on Solana are like lightning fast.
Wow. Okay.
And they're relatively inexpensive, making it an attractive alternative to Ethereum.
Okay. So is Solana like the bullet train of the NFT world then?
Exactly. Yeah. Very fast, very efficient.
Okay.
But it's still a relatively new blockchain.
Okay.
So it doesn't have the same level of like, adoption or developer community as Ethereum.
Okay. So maybe not as many projects and stuff happening over there yet.
Exactly. It's still kind of finding its footing.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What about Bitcoin? I feel like I always thought Bitcoin was like, just for Bitcoin.
Right. For a long time it was.
Yeah.
But, as the original and most established cryptocurrency, Bitcoin has actually become like a player in the NFT space as well.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to these really high value collectibles.
Okay, so it's like the grandparent of the cryptocurrency world, but now it's like, getting hip to NFTs.
There you go. Exactly.
That's so funny. And then there are some like up and coming blockchains as well, like Avalanche and Polygon.
Okay, I haven't heard of those.
Yeah, Avalanche is gaining a lot of traction in the gaming world because it's known for its speed and low transaction fees. And then Polygon is kind of like a solution for Ethereum's high fees.
Okay.
So it offers faster and cheaper transactions while still being compatible with the Ethereum network.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, so it's like the best of both worlds in a way.
Okay, so it sounds like this whole blockchain landscape is constantly evolving.
Always.
Which is kind of exciting, but also maybe a little overwhelming if you're like new to it.
It can be, but, it's like anything else. You learn as you go.
Right.
And honestly, the technology is getting more and more user-friendly all the time.
That's good. That's good to hear.
So I wouldn't get too caught up in the technical details.
Okay.
Just, follow your interests, start exploring, and you'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's almost like choosing which, social media platform you want to join or something. Exactly. Like each one has its own, vibe and purpose.
Absolutely.
So, you just kind of have to figure out where you fit in.
Exactly. And just like with social media, it's totally possible to be a part of multiple blockchain communities.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
And kind of explore the unique offerings of each.
So, with all these different blockchains and marketplaces, popping up, where do you see this whole NFT thing heading? What does the future hold?
Well, if we go back to Litman's book, he quotes Wiley Aronow, who is the co-founder of Yuga Labs, the company behind the Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Oh, right, the Bored Apes. Yeah, they're like the rock stars of the NFT world.
Totally. And Aronow believes that NFTs are here to stay.
Okay.
He compares the current, hype cycles to those of, the music industry.
Okay.
He's basically saying that, while NFTs might go through periods of being, quote-unquote cool and uncool, they're not going anywhere.
Right. Any new technology, I feel like it has its, ups and downs.
Right, exactly.
But it's the ones that are really revolutionary, they stick around.
Exactly. And I tend to agree.
Yeah.
Beyond the hype, NFTs have the potential to fundamentally change how we think about, digital ownership.
Right.
How we interact with brands, and even how we experience things like art and music and sports.
Right. So it's not just about collecting digital monkeys anymore.
No, not at all. It's about unlocking new possibilities.
Okay. So what are some of the NFT projects that you think have staying power? The ones that are more than just a flash in the pan.
Well, CryptoPunks are definitely up there.
Okay.
They're considered the original NFT collection.
Right.
And their value has remained incredibly resilient over time.
Wow.
Beeple, the digital artist who sold an NFT for $69 million back in 2021.
I remember that. That was huge.
Right. He continues to push the boundaries of what's possible with digital art.
That's awesome.
And then you have projects like Pudgy Penguins and Doodles, which
Wow.
have cultivated these really strong communities.
Right.
And they're constantly innovating with new ways to engage their holders and provide value.
So they're not just resting on their laurels. They're actually trying to build something.
Exactly. And that's what's going to make them successful in the long run.
It's amazing to think how far we've come from that first $4 NFT back in 2014.
I know. It's mind-blowing. And the most exciting part is that we're still so early in this journey. Like, imagine what the NFT landscape is going to look like in another 10 years.
Yeah, it's kind of like mind-boggling to even think about.
It really is.
So, okay, we've covered a lot of exciting ground here today. Like from, we talked about like the unexpected uses of NFTs across all of these different industries, the importance of like, safety and security and like this whole new, trend with the metaverse and digital NFTs. But like with any emerging technology, there are always challenges and there are always concerns. I think Litman does a really good job in his book of like not shying away from those.
Yeah, he's very upfront about the potential downsides.
Yeah, he talks about, like the environmental impact of NFTs, the volatility of the market, the potential for, scams and fraud. Like all of these things are, part of the conversation.
They're very real concerns that honestly we need to continue to talk about and address as the industry matures.
Right, because like it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like there are real issues that need to be addressed.
Exactly.
So let's maybe take them one at a time. Like the environmental impact of NFTs. I know that's been like a really big topic of discussion.
Yeah.
With some people arguing that like, the energy consumption that's required to power like blockchain networks is like unsustainable.
Yeah, and it's a valid concern. It's true that some blockchains, like Bitcoin, use a proof-of-work consensus mechanism that requires a lot of computing power, which in turn requires a lot of energy.
Right. Okay.
However, the industry is actively exploring more sustainable alternatives like proof of stake, which uses significantly less energy.
So it's not necessarily like NFTs themselves that are the problem, but rather the like underlying technology that's used to like power them.
Precisely. And a lot of NFT projects are taking steps to kind of offset their carbon footprint.
Okay.
Or even use like, renewable energy sources for their operations.
Okay, so they are like aware of it and they're trying to like make changes to be more sustainable.
Exactly. And I think that awareness is only going to grow.
Right.
As sustainability becomes, increasingly important to both consumers and investors.
Right. It's like people are voting with their dollars more and more these days.
Absolutely.
Okay. What about like market volatility? Because I know that's another thing. Like the prices of NFTs seem to like fluctuate wildly, right? Like one day a particular collection is like all the rage and the next day it's like yesterday's news.
Yeah, that's true. The NFT market is still relatively young.
Right.
And like any emerging market, it's prone to like speculation and hype cycles.
Yeah, for sure. So like for people who are like maybe thinking about, investing in NFTs, what's your advice? Like how can they navigate that like volatility?
I think it's important to remember that NFTs are still a high risk, high reward investment.
Okay.
Just because something is selling for a lot of money today, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to hold its value tomorrow.
Right. So it's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Definitely not.
Okay.
It's really crucial to do your research.
Right.
Understand, like, the fundamentals of the project that you're investing in and just be prepared for, like, some ups and downs along the way.
So it's like investing in any other asset class, really. Like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Be prepared to, like, hold for the long term.
Exactly. And as the market matures, I think we'll see more regulation, more stability, which will hopefully attract like more institutional investors.
Right.
And just lead to a more sustainable ecosystem overall.
Okay, that makes sense. So like more guardrails, but also like more potential for, growth and stability in the long run.
Right, exactly.
Okay. And then finally, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is scams and fraud.
Right.
Because I feel like with any new technology that involves money and like, digital assets, there are always going to be people who are like looking to take advantage.
Oh, absolutely. And unfortunately, the NFT space is no exception. We've seen everything from like, phishing scams to rug pulls where like creators just disappear with investors' money.
Yeah, you hear those stories and it's just like so disheartening because it's like, it gives the whole space a bad name.
It does.
So for our listeners, like how can they protect themselves and like, their hard-earned money?
I think the most important thing is just to be informed and be vigilant.
Right.
Do your research.
Okay.
Only interact with like, reputable platforms and marketplaces.
Okay.
And be wary of any offers that seem too good to be true.
Right.
If something feels off, it probably is.
Yeah, it's like trust your gut.
Absolutely. And again, never ever share your seed phrase with anyone, no matter how convincing they may seem.
Right. So it's kind of like all comes back to common sense, caution, a healthy dose of skepticism are all like really essential when you're like navigating the world of NFTs?
Yes, 100%. Don't let the excitement of this new technology cloud your judgment.
This deep dive has been incredible. Like, we went from digital monkeys to fractional ownership,
I know.
luxury fashion to sustainable blockchains. We even touched on, like, the philosophical implications of NFTs as cultural capital.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is. But it's just, like, mind-blowing to think about how far NFTs have come in just a few short years.
It really is, and we're just getting started.
So, like, where do we even go from here? Like, what's next for NFTs?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think the next few years are going to be incredibly exciting as NFTs continue to evolve.
Right.
And just reshape how we, like, interact with the digital world.
Yeah, it's exciting to think that, like, the future is literally being written as we speak.
I know, it's so cool.
And the most exciting part is that, like, anyone can be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Whether you're, an artist or a collector or a gamer or just someone who's, like, curious about the possibilities, the world of NFTs is, like, ripe for exploration.
It really is. And there's never been a better time to get involved.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one final, like, provocative thought that we can leave our listeners with? Something to kind of, like, ponder as they, like, navigate this brave new world of NFTs.
How about this? If NFTs represent a new form of digital ownership and identity, what will your NFT legacy be?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about.
What impact do we want to make in this digital realm? What stories do we want our NFTs to tell about us? Big question, but one that I think is worth asking. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive to the world of NFTs. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep learning.